Source 2 just dropped, and Valve changed a ton of aspects about the game. But your whole feed is probably CS2, and unfortunately, I don't have access. What has interested me is how Valve will navigate an operation around this new game release. Operations are pivotal points for Counter-Strike. Operation Shared Web introduced player models, which came with their problems, but are now a well-integrated piece of Counter-Strike. The match-ending screen that shows various awards in front of the individual player models, and some maps that have seen some love, but never saw much use. Broken Fang added Premiere, which has a pick ban system, much like a third-party matchmaking system. Retakes as an official mode. Ancient was added into the competitive pool, and Pangs were integrated to name a few. Riptide introduced competitive matches, which was a big update for me personally, droppable grenades which have been integral to the current meta, and an M4A1 nerf which caused some panic, but the M4A1 continues to see high use regardless. As you can see, operations are meant to be the big updates for the year. Here are all of these missions to do with your friends. Here are some skins for those interested, but also some gameplay changes. These three operations that I listed came out in 2019, 2020, and 2021. That means 2022 was the first year in recent history that an operation will not be released. So we do know why there was no operation last year, but we don't know when there will be an operation. At least, not publicly. But we do know an operation will come eventually. Valve has pressure to release operations. Operations, traditionally, came out in the winter. Considering a large portion of the player base are teenagers and young adults, this is when the player base is at its highest. Updates and external trends can make the waters a little muddy, but most of the player base peaks for Counter-Strike exist between November and February. Back to school and back to colder weather, which means more people are inside playing video games, winter break for Christmas, etc. Considering operation passes need to be purchased, it would make sense that an operation would be active during a time where people have the most time to grind out missions, hopefully making the operation worth the $12. And for kids, they can use Christmas money to buy the pass. A few years ago, Valve changed their operation style from a $5 pass with a roadmap of missions that you did with your friends, to a $12 battle pass type system that you grind and get rewards for. Every single operation with this style was released before Christmas break and continued afterwards. This sounds like a great time to maximize profit for an operation. But the cycle has been broken with Counter-Strike 2. Counter-Strike 2 is expected to release this summer. Now the game is technically released, and it's being tested by a select few, which has caused its fair share of drama. The actual public release is summer 2023 Valve time. Everyone who is playing and has played Counter-Strike will take some time to experience Source 2. The game is breaking 1.5 million concurrent players at this point in time, so I really don't think it's unreasonable to say that 3 million will be possible on the release day. Now many of these people probably aren't going to stick around as is. The Valorant guys will probably come over for a few days, but they have contracts, competitions, and new fan bases that they need to take care of, so they will go back. Content creators like Moist Critical will farm it for a bit, but the views will dry up, or the chat will get too toxic, and variety will be back on the menu. All eyes will be on the game at this point in time, and there's going to be a rush of people who have never really interacted with Counter-Strike before. If operations were released every winter to capitalize on increased player base numbers, there will be no better opportunity in the history of Counter-Strike than the Source 2 release day. Especially the popularity of Valorant, which has introduced thousands of people to competitive 5v5 tactical shooters. I think we can all agree that operation missions are tedious. I really hope with new Source 2 tools and maybe a code that doesn't break every time a little thing is changed, we actually get some fun and interesting missions. But even if we don't, that is one way to keep players coming back each week. This indirectly forces them to learn the game, which has always been the biggest criticism that new players have. New players have always struggled in Counter-Strike, as there's no good way to learn the game without dying and dying again. Valorant players, while familiar with this type of game, will initially struggle with the movement and recoil, which would be unbelievably frustrating if you're used to playing at a high level in a similar game. Getting farmed in deathmatch is not fun. Getting some friends together and killing bots in a campaign type mission is fun. It's a great way to help new players learn the game's mechanics without even knowing it. And with Operation Missions being a weekly release, they will keep coming back and getting better each time. And honestly, just looking at the Operation model, it fits. Operations are intended to introduce new content to the game. It's just that this new content isn't a ping or a game mode, it's a whole new game. With the Revolution case dropping this February, it would be reasonable for an Operation case to come out this summer. Case prices are so insane right now anyways, there's no worries about saturating the market. Source 2 has also introduced slightly different weapon models. So dropping Operation collections that are created by Valve themselves means that they can create them specifically for Source 2, which would be a great introduction. With Source 2 capabilities, there's a whole new generation of skins that can be created, and Valve can show them off with high tier skins and operations like they did with the 10-year birthday capsule. That capsule introduced lenticular to stickers, and they're high level stickers and they cost a lot of money. They could also do the same with operations. Maybe red tier operation skins will have new effects that we have never seen before. And now that Valve has shown that technology, the community will copy it, and we'll see it in cases in the future. Valve also alluded to maps that are completely created with Source 2 tools and rendering features, and with operations, we typically get some limited time maps. This is a way that Valve could experiment with certain Source 2 features in a casual way, and if the community likes it, it will then be added to active duty maps. With Valve controlling the whole operation process, it can be a great advertisement to the community as to what is possible in the new Source 2 engine. This is all theory crafting, of course. I don't have any sources, I'm not Richard Lewis here, but I'm looking at previous operations, I'm looking at what their intentions are, I'm looking at the pressure that Valve has to release operations, and I'm looking at the opportunity that Source 2 can create. I think when you add this all together, we are definitely going to get an operation this year. I don't see how Valve would not release an operation. It's a great way to keep players around, and Source 2 is creating an opportunity that we have never seen before in Counter-Strike. Now there is a possibility that they stagger it. They know that millions and millions of people are going to play Counter-Strike when the update comes. Maybe they do another winter operation. That's going to hold on to the players that kind of experienced Counter-Strike already and they're maybe thinking of switching, but now an operation came, now they're going to stick around for a few months. But personally, if you ask me, I think it's very possible that we see an operation this summer. But when it comes to Valve, you really don't know what they're doing. We didn't even know about Counter-Strike 2 until weeks before it released. And honestly, that's what I love about them.